This is April.
And this is Tiffany. And you are now listening to the Tea of Life podcast. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast.
Yeah. This episode, I wanted to share something with you. When I woke up this morning, here's 2 verses for the day. Psalm 118:24 says, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And immediately after that verse came to my mind, Matthew 6:11, "Give us this day our daily bread." Like those 2 verses kind of rolled around in my head, and they helped encourage me for, I guess, something that I feel like I wanted to share with everybody. So part of that has to do with just focusing on this day. What is this day that the Lord has made for us? How can we rejoice and be glad in this one day? We're not even guaranteed the full day if you think about it. Like we woke up and we're like, woohoo, we made it.
Right.
But we aren't guaranteed the rest of the day. I mean, we'd like to think we are. So we're just focusing on this one day. And we just want this one day with the daily bread from Jesus. Like, what does that look like? How can we be happy in this one day? What do we have to offer this one day? So keep that in mind. Kind of put a pin in that as I go through the rest of the story. Do you remember seeing a juggling act? Maybe mostly on TV. What if Jerry? Like a telethon. You'd see the jugglers, and they've got the plates on poles, and they might have like 6 or 7 plates, and they're spinning. And the guy's always smiling, running around, spinning the plates. And the audience is like, "Oh, that one's going to fall over there." But he always knows which plate to spin because he's judging the time. So that picture of juggling plates on poles is really what I've been experiencing. Like the juggler puts the plates on long poles and he spins them in the air, and he has to constantly watch them and spin them when they're slowing. So the plates in the air are like the hats that we wear. I know it's a rhyme, but the plates in the air are like hats that we wear. So what about a mom plate or a mom hat?
And this is something that you've actually talked about before, because I remember previous podcasts you've actually referred to these plates spinning.
Right. And that's how when I view of like things that I have to do, I always think of them in plates. So a mom, wife, work plate, homeschooling plate, podcasting plate, all these are plates to me. And so, because I'm a visual person, I think the Lord shares with me in pictures, and that's how he speaks to me, kind of, sort of. So back in March or April of this year, I started viewing the tasks that I had to do as plates I had to spin in the air, just like the ones that I just said: mom plate, work plate, etc. And I felt I was spreading myself too thin. I wasn't doing anything well, and I don't like to do that. I don't like to do things kind of half-heartedly. But I felt like I was just kind of spreading myself thin. Like, have you heard the expression "Jack of all trades, master of none"? I'm sure you've heard of that. So. And when I have a project, I like to give time to it. I like to plan out, I like to plan out what needs to be done and then tackle it. Okay, I use my planner. I know everybody knows that. And I'll list out the things that I have to do. That brings me joy. Okay, I like to do that.
And I love the list. And I do the same thing, but planning too far in advance actually kind of stresses me out a little bit.
Right, and
I have to do a little bit at a time and be spontaneous a little more in that area.
Right. Because I'm just working on my daily bread time planning, and if we think about it. So I like to plan out what needs to be done and tackle it. And if I'm working on one task and I'm asked to stop and devote unplanned time to another, it throws me off, and I don't like that. And you've probably experienced me many times if I'm in my work hat. And, I just, because I have to... Because what it boils down to is I'm easily distracted, and I could be like going off and helping you one other area, and then I've got 2 unfinished areas, and I'm trying to be better about that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I know I've got issues. But back to the story. Okay, so like I was saying, back to March and April of this year, I started feeling overwhelmed by the tasks at hand, and I was feeling like I was not able to give myself fully to the tasks that I wanted to. And so if I'm not able to give the tasks or give my time fully to those tasks, I begin to feel like a failure because I wasn't feeling successful in the area. So, for example, the mom plate or mom hat, I was feeling like I wasn't devoting enough time to play with my kids because I'm trying to balance work or homeschooling or podcasting. Or if I was in my podcasting time, or if my podcasting time would take up more of my time that I wasn't, or podcasting time would take up more time and I wasn't devoting time to my actual paying job. So then I'm like, I've got people needing stuff from me. And I'm
So
not giving
whenever
time.
you're doing something, you always feel like you need to be doing something else.
Exactly. Right. So I need to, I got my box. I planned out my day. And if I'm in that box and I'm asked to do something else, whatever it is, then I'm like, I feel like I'm not devoting time to that. So I'm feeling guilty. So
And I know that there's been times where I've actually contacted you in the middle of work and I don't realize that you're at work because I don't know where you're
my
at
schedule,
or what you're doing at the time. But something will come up and I'll send you a text and then all of a sudden you respond and go, I can't talk about that right now. I'm working. I will get back to that later.
I feel bad because I want to help you.
Yeah.
But then
And I'm
also,
like, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were working. And I feel horrible.
so sorry. Except for when you call and you hurt your hammer on your head or something.
When the drill fell on my
the drill
head.
fell on your head. And I was
I'm
like,
I'm bleeding.
I'm coming.
I have my finger stuck in the hole and I need help. Are you at home?
No, I just got to work, but I can go. Yeah, that was no problem. I was like, I don't want to be here. But yes, so you get the idea. And now this is just life, and I get it. And I started to get mad at myself for thinking, what's wrong with me? Lots of other people handle just as many, or if not more plates or hats than I do. So why can't I manage? So now here comes the comparison trap. Now I'm like, I'm not able to handle all my stuff, but Susie Q over there can handle it. Tiffany can handle it.
I don't know, though. Can they really handle it, or are they just really good at making it look like they can handle it?
That's a good point. So, okay. But I don't know that in my mind. I'm just comparing myself to them, and I just see them being like Wonder Woman. I'm like, I failed. So, okay. So now we left March and April. Now we're at the beginning of May. I'm speeding up the story. And I'm starting to feel some panic attacks. Not at the hospital level, not like where I've got to go and be checked out, but just enough to cause me to stop and catch my breath. Like I couldn't breathe. I remember just kind of walking and I'll be like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I need to stop because I can't breathe. I feel like something was sitting on my chest, like a big elephant or something was sitting on my chest. And I'd start to feel overwhelmed and I would cry. And I'm like, what is going on with me? And I think we've talked before about, is it like hormones or is it just life?
Right. Right, because we're at the age now to where it's kind of difficult to figure that out. When you're like in your early 20s or 30s, it's probably hormones, depending on when during the month,
Exactly.
But like we're entering to the stage to where it's almost like everything we do is blamed on premenopausal symptoms. And we're going, we're not premenopausal. We're really stressed out. We're just stressed out. Back off. I know, right? So it seems like we're in that age to where it is kind of difficult to go, okay, we have another factor to, to bring into to figuring out the solution of what's going on.
Right.
Right.
Isn't that funny how women always get blamed like, oh, it's their time in the month, or oh, it's pregnancy brain, or oh, it's midlife crisis, or oh, it's menopause. No, I'm just taking on a lot more than I can actually handle. So I would start to feel overwhelmed and I would cry. And actually I would have these moments. I actually had them on and off over the past year, but at this time frame, they're starting to just come and I'm like, I need to share this with my husband. And sometimes I have a hard time saying, hey, I need help. I do. I have a hard time telling people, hey, I need help. But this day, I remember I went to Conrad and I hugged him and I told him, I feel like Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole. But only I'm not trying to grab onto the sides and stop myself. I just want to fall. Like I just want this to be over. I just want this like worrying, this everything to be over. Not like I'm not suicidal.
No.
Please do not read that.
No.
You
just wanted this season to pass into
season.
something to a different season.
And I realized, yes, exactly. And I'm as I'm sharing this with him, I'm like, proud of myself for sharing this, being vulnerable. I realize I'm crying. So I'm like, wow, this is serious. If I'm letting this go, like So, and he asks me
so he did ask you a question. He didn't look at you like deer in the headlights, right?
You're going through menopause is what he said. No, I'm just kidding.
Really? Oh my gosh.
No, he did not say that. He very gently and calmly said, if you could let one thing go, what would it be? And my immediate response, all honesty, I said weekly podcasting. And so he suggested at that time that I ask you to do the next week solo. And it just happened to be my birthday week at that time. So this is the beginning of May.
Right.
And I was great. And you did a great job. And so we're like, yeah, okay, we did that. And then, no, I like podcasting when I was in this. I like podcasting when I was in my time frame to do it. But I had been noticing that I was starting to dread trying to keep this plate spinning in the air. But I was in this with you, so this is something that we started and we're in, and I didn't want to let you down. And my husband worked really hard at the logo and the website.
Because your husband is the one who created our website. Yeah. He created our logo. Yeah. You created our song.
Yeah.
So it's like, you guys have an investment in this.
Right. And
huge investment, because we couldn't have,
And I didn't want to so there's people involved. If I just walk out, it's just, I was thinking that there's other people. And Conrad's been supportive of me and my entrepreneurial adventure, and I didn't want to let him down either. So I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to disappoint you guys, because we were all in this together at some level. But I just had to be real with myself. I just wanted to be a mom, a wife, and just to homeschool, And those are the only plates that I wanted to devote to spinning. At first I wrote, I just wanted to be mom and homeschool. And I was like, I got to put wife back in there, because that's... I don't want to stop that plate from spinning right now.
Right.
So, and I was also, at this time, I was listening to our friend Merritt Ansa's Devoted Dreamers podcast, and she had Christy Hayes episode. It said, the title was How to Loosen Your Grip on Your Dreams. And she was talking about her business, the new business venture that she was going through, and that we had talked to her about on our episode. But at this time, so I hear her talk about how to loosen your grip on your dreams. And the takeaway from that was she gave up her business, her first business venture she was doing. At the time, there's exercise and other involvements, but she gave up that business and her ministry involvement tasks for 1 year. All the things that she was doing for God. Because she's like, what? I'm doing these for you. How, why would you want me to give them up? And he said he just wanted her to be content with being with him. No accolades involved. And so I remember hearing that, and I was like, I think this is for me. And so that's when I contacted Merritt and got Christy's information, and we talked about having her on the show. And so I knew I wanted to chat with her and see if this message of letting go was really for me. And you know the story. We interviewed Christy. It was a great talk, and it was very encouraging. And I loved hearing what God is doing with her now, since she had that time with just him, where she wasn't able to dream. She wasn't able to just just be in the Lord. So, but I was still feeling the dread. And then I went to Michigan, and I was helping to clean out my grandfather's house. Now, my grandfather's here with us. I don't know if I've mentioned, but he's with my mom and dad. And so he's still alive, but we went up to Michigan because he's not going to be able to return to that house. And we had to clean out the house. So that was an emotional time. So the reason I'm saying this is, I had my birthday week. You did solo. Great. Then we came back. We interviewed Christy, and I thought, okay, this is good. Let's keep going. But I'm still feeling this dread. I go to Michigan. We clean out my grandfather's house, which I was mentally preparing myself to be emotional. And it was emotional, but it wasn't as emotional because he's still here. He's still alive.
Right.
So that helped it not become, yes, it was emotional. Yes, I did cry and break down, but I kept reminding myself that my grandfather, it's not about the stuff.
Right.
It's about the people that make the memories.
Right.
The memories isn't the stuff. The memories is the people.
Right.
So, like I said, I went to Michigan, and I felt like the confirmation to let my end of the podcast go. I'd wrestling with what happens, because I was wrestling with what happens when it gets really big and all my efforts will be forgotten. It's like, then so be it. I can't, maybe my time was just to help get started and you take it. I'm like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm like, I want to be known. I don't want to be forgotten. But who cares if I am? Whatever. So, but once I made the decision, and Tiffany and I, we had that chat on the Monday, and it was a hard chat. We shared where we were, and it was like we were going in different directions, but that was okay. Because above all, Tiffany and I are friends first. And then we're neighbors, because we can always move.
Right.
We're friends first. So and
that's something that we've discussed over and over and over again since we started this podcast, is that we're friends first.
Right. and we just happen to do a podcast together and we enjoy it. Right. And then the minute it didn't get fun, I don't want to hold you back from something because I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? So why would I want to just keep giving something half-heartedly when I know if I just let it go, it can really thrive? You know, what's that expression? If you love it, forget it. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But so once we made the decision, we had that chat, and I always felt like a weight lifted off of me, and I felt giddy again, like a little schoolgirl. I was seeing color. I was skipping. Not that the podcast was a bad thing for me. It was just time for me to be obedient, to let it go. And please hear this, if you hear nothing else from all this. I enjoyed my time as a co-host with Tiffany. I'm thankful to have been a part of y'all's lives, y'all in listener land. I enjoy being a part of that. I enjoy being a part of listener lives via podcasting. And I love when people would stop me at church or send me a message of their own takeaways that they've had from listening to the episodes. And I learned about interviewing and speaking and editing, and I learned how to stalk people on the internet.
No, you're not kidding. So I'm just kidding.
John Mays, that was some good stalking. Anyhow, but I'm grateful for this past year and a half. I've got that written in bold, you know. And so my takeaway was I need to be true to myself and what I feel the Lord calling me to do. I'm not responsible for anyone else's feelings towards me. Like if Conrad or Tiffany, you know, Tiffany's told me she's not disappointed. I believe her, and Conrad as well. But I'm not responsible if they were. You know, I'm not going to intentionally do something that would be disappointing. But or at least I don't want to. But I realize I'm not responsible for anyone's feelings towards me. I am only responsible for me and my actions. So what am I going to do now? I'm working on decluttering my life, not just closets and pantries, garages and bedrooms. I'm working on taking away things that take away from my one thing right now, which is my family. My kids are growing up and I want to enjoy this moment. I'll be finishing my summer well, squeezing everything I can from it before buckling down into the homeschool year. I am enjoying my daily bread. That's what I'm going to do. So the Lord's been speaking to me about decluttering, and I thought, okay, I've got stuff to declutter, but it's really about the other things in my life too. And so I'd have these dreams about, and I'll have these dreams that I was moving, and I looked it up, and it was talking about, I looked up like, what does it mean to have dreams, moving dreams? And it said you could be getting ready to do something a different season.
So what I hear you saying is that something that we've talked about before in other podcasts is saying no so that you can say yes. And that is something that you are doing with this. You're saying no to the podcast so that you can say yes to your husband, your kids, homeschooling, those things that really, really have your heart.
Right. At this point, because homeschooling and the curriculum and the planning, it's just a lot of work. And so is podcasting planning. It's just a lot of work. And my job is a lot of work. I can't do those three things well. So my job pays me.
Right.
My kids need me. So I have to let podcasting go. Even though it's a great medium, I enjoy it, but I have to let it go. So I hope that's what people hear, is that I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just need to let it go. And who knows, maybe it'll come back in a different season, when our kids are older and we can, I don't know what it looks like, but.
You definitely have a spot here. Anytime you have something that pops up that you want to talk about. Hey, Tiffany, this is going on. Come on. I want to record or whatever. So the chair is yours. This is your spot. Anytime you want to come back and be a guest or, co-host or whatever for one-off, even if it's once a year or whatever, this is your spot. And I'm not planning on giving it away to anyone else. So this has been an amazing year and a half.
Yes, it has.
Been doing this together. It's been hard. There's been a lot of ups. There's been a lot of downs. And I've loved doing this with you. I think that it's brought us closer in our friendship. We were getting together once a week anyway beforehand. And I hope that won't change. We'll still continue to get together. It'll just be for different reasons other than podcasting.
Right.
But I'm planning on continuing the podcast. I have a lot of people that I have lined up for interviews. What I want to do is I want to have, like, every once in a while bring in a new co-host.
Yeah.
Just for little one-offs here and there. And so we have some really great things planned for Tea of Life podcast future. And where we are now, like, we could not be where we are now without you and I working together in this, without your husband, setting up all the website and everything that he did in the background. And really, really appreciate that. So,
And Brandon's involvement, you would hear a lot differently if your husband wasn't involved with sound and all his editing. And you do a great job. So that's my I know that God has, I even wrote in my journal, God has big things. God is going to do big things. He's doing new things. He's going to do big things. And part of the hesitancy was to walk, to let it go, was like, what if I'm not part of this big thing anymore? But I have to trust God that God's got something for me, just as he's got something great for Tea of Life. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I know you can do it. Well, thank you guys for letting me be a part of your lives for this past year and a half. I really loved it. And still, when you listen, also share what you found, not just found value in it, but how does it help you? How does it, when you listen, what comes to mind? We want to definitely hear about your life and what your daily bread is for that particular day.
if you like Tea of Life podcast and you've got two friends who want to create the life that they love to live, tell them about us. Find us on your favorite social media platform like Facebook or Instagram. Also, right now, before you forget, go to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts and search for Tea of Life podcast. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode. Thank you for listening to Tea of Life podcast. We'll see you next Monday.